This video is brought to you by Sailrite. Visit sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions.
Yeah, this is Jeff at Sailrite, and we got a bunch of sails here. We just took off Jim's Islander 37, which is one of the boats you'll see in our videos for all his lifeline stanchions and a bunch of interior work he did on it. But at the end of the season, we want to go look over all the sails, make sure they're in good shape, ready to go, and it gives us plenty of time to make any repairs if needed.
Jeff will inspect a few sails and point out issues that need to be addressed. As Jeff inspects these sails, he will give his professional advice on how each issue should be tackled. As you watch, we will display individual links to other videos that will detail the step-by-step process we took to fix each problem that Jeff will find. After watching this video and the corresponding videos, it is our hope that your sails will be ready for the next sailing season. Here's Jeff Frank, Sailrite's sail designer with over 24 years experience designing sail kits for Sailrite.
So we're going to try and let our customers know how you would want to go inspect your sail and any repairs, and we'll address all the repairs, and you'll get to see that too and follow us along.
To start, Jeff will give some general guidelines on how to inspect your sails.
Okay, this is Jim's 150 Genoa, and the first thing you want to do when you want to inspect your sail is you want to get it out, try and get as much space to spread it out. If not, at least try and work from edge to edge to edge, because usually the repairs are on the Luff, Leech, and foot edge. A lot of times on, like you'll see in this case, there's a little bit of damage on the continuous support tape or the Luff tape sliding up the groove. There's Velcro that needs to be replaced, and a window that Jim would like replaced, as well as another one added. And so we're going to start, we would just go over all the seams and all the edges, but you're just looking for any rips in the stitches, and it's worthwhile inspecting, especially if you have older sails. If you're feeling along the stitches and you feel it just pop, that's UV damage to the sail and to all the stitching. And so if I see it pop in one spot, unless there's something strange, I'm thinking it's most likely all weak in that whole stitch line, because typically they'll get the same amount of sun unless it's a furling sail where the sun cover gets most. But we're just following the sail along. And again, I'm doing the outside edges first, and I would go back and catch every seam. And you're just looking for any stitching that's failed, any holes in the sail, anything that you need to take care of before you get sailing next year. So as you're going along here, it's a good idea to have a colored masking tape, that blue house tape. I just chopped up some insignias to get some way to mark if I do see a problem, some way to mark it. Otherwise, especially on a sail this big, there might be 10 or 20 things that you want to fix, just small things, but you'll miss them because you'll do 15 and forget 5. So it's a good idea to have something to mark it.
The first issue Jeff finds is a discolored sail window that needs to be replaced.
And there is a spot here, like I said. Now this is a pretty big thing. The window needs to be replaced. Jim wants that done. That's pretty simple. But he also wants another one added. A little piece here, and I just cut this out of insignia, like I said. He wants them added about a foot below.
The first window was too high and did not offer Jim the best visibility at the helm. So while we're replacing the old window, why not put a new one in a spot where it can be easily seen from the helm? Next, he finds some damage to the Luff edge of the continuous support tape.
Yeah, the continuous support tape has a little damage here. This is something that I would be aware of, but I would not fix. Unless, I mean, you can barely tell, but you can tell there's some abrasion right on this edge. It's down to the rope. The stitching's still intact. The issue you have with anytime you're going to fix a continuous support tape is the tolerances aren't there in all the units and all the extrusions to sometimes work with putting a whole layer over the top. It just makes it too big, and then it causes issues with getting the sail hoisted properly. Now, if the reefing situation is one thing to take a look at, and I know Jim doesn't reef this, that's why I'm not fixing this. But if you were going to reef the sail, like this Genoa has a reef point in it, then that would become a little bit more critical because of the load that's going to have when the reef's tied in. Then you got to really put a layer, probably a 5-ounce dock run. I wouldn't go any heavier. And then basically you're going to layer over the top, fold it right over there, or right over the existing ropes, and get the rope as tight as possible so that tunnel doesn't get too big for the extrusion. Now up on the head of the sail, this, you can see this is pretty common. You'll get varying degrees to how bad this gets, but this is not unusual to see that rope gone, kind of tore up a bit. In this case, we're kind of lucky here because realistically, to try and extend it would be foolish. You would just cut this right here with a hot knife, cut in, put another piece of either you can use draft tape for this or a little piece of strip of Dacron right there when this is cut to protect that edge from getting destroyed again. And again, we're going to tag it so we'll remember to get back at that.
Here's a light air Genoa for the Islander 37 sailboat.
Now this support tape is pretty well damaged, and we're going to show you how to go over the top of that and put a new piece of material in, and we'll try to keep it as small as possible. But again, whenever you do this, you always have to be concerned about this part entering your whether it's a furling sail or entering your extrusion or your tough luff or what have you. Whenever it comes to this, we're adding a layer here, so depending on how it fit to begin with, it may be, you know, really tight at this point where it starts. And then pretty much once you get it going and you get it in the extrusion, it's going to hoist just like everything else. It'll be fine. It's just when you go up and down with this stuff, you always got to watch this point and make sure whoever is feeding it, even in the pre-feeder, is up there watching this. But, you know, it's cheaper than replacing the whole luff tape.
Polyester threads will weaken over time, so be sure to check the seams of the sail carefully.
Now here's some other things. This seam right here is fine. You'll see this little phrase and things. This kind of bothers me. It's not that really going to hurt the sail, but I would go and have my scissors ready and just trim that if you see that in the seams. Here's one where the seam, the top row of stitches is letting go. Bottom one's still intact, and that's probably why there wasn't any problem. There's no catastrophic failure in the whole leech edge going or the seam going all the way down. But we're going to want to go through here, and we're going to take this and go in. I would go in probably a couple feet. I mean, I would certainly go through this whole seam and make sure these stitches are intact, but I would sew it in, yeah, about 2 feet or so on both sides, just to give me peace of mind. And if the other, you know, as you inspect the other stitches, if it doesn't need any more than that, then that's all you need to do. You definitely want to tag that because I've walked by that a couple times and didn't see it. That's why you want to go over every seam and go down it, because there's such little gaps, and white on white, it's hard to notice things.
Holes and rips are not uncommon, even for new sails.
Here's another area. I'm going to mark this because it was patched at some point in its life, but it's almost as if it was glued, but not quite right. They put a patch over it, so I'm going to do this and we'll fix this, make it look a little bit better. I'm going to just stick that right on top. When inspecting the mainsail, we also found a few holes. Looks like a mouse did it. If you put mothballs around your sails, it will help keep the mice and the rodents away when you store them. In any case, we'll be showing you the proper way to repair this and take care of the mouse holes and get your sail ready to go.
Sail slides or slugs may be broken, or grommets with shackles may need to be replaced.
Okay, the other thing to go with your sail is inspect everywhere there's a slide or slug, whether it's luff or foot, every position you want to look at. In this case, you want to look at the grommet if the sail is old enough, and I've seen 30, 40 years old sails with very little metal left and a lot of corrosion on the grommets. But this one is in, you can see it's in good shape on both sides. You want to make sure that if you have a slide like this with a shackle, that the shackle is secure. And in this case, that is all fine. You certainly want to look at this, and if the screw's almost out or not tight, you do want to tighten that up. So these are somewhat, the shackles will close a little bit further than a U because they are a little bit flexible, but that puts a spring pressure that always keeps it tight to try and, you know, so the screw isn't somehow loose that can just shake free. And this is an older style external slide, but again, you know, there's nothing wrong with the slide. There's nothing wrong with the shackle. We are going to take this out though, just to show you how to remove a grommet. And we'll take the grommet out and replace the grommet even though there's nothing wrong with it. In this case, just so you can see how that's done.
Batten pockets are notorious for being problem areas, from abrasion, old elastic, or even missing or broken battens.
You do want to look at the batten pocket. In this case, this is what we call a triangular batten pocket with this end. I mean, this end stays open. The batten gets pushed all the way into the ends. And you do want to make sure the ends of the pocket are secure. So you want to make sure there's no stitching. This is just a fray, which you'll often run into with older sails, a little frays here and there. Doesn't hurt the sail at all. But make sure this stitching is down and secure and the pocket is sewn down well. The elastic, you can't really test by feeling it here, but you can just make sure it's there and not somehow torn. If you have your batten, you would put your batten in with anything elastic, put it all the way down the end. In this case, this is meant to push all the way down in the pocket, and this part is stitched into about there. I can feel it with my thumb underneath, and then the batten gets pushed down and the elastic pushes it back against the back. Again, make sure this is secure. One thing, if you ever have Leechline problems, you have to check all these areas where batten pockets are to make sure the Leechline somehow didn't get sewn in. And you do still want to make sure your elastic is functional. If it's not, there's a couple things. Either replace the elastic, or pretty much once you get the batten in, that's all you can do. And then you have to hand stitch this closed. At least you don't have to hand stitch throughout the whole thing, but you hand stitch at least enough so the batten can't come out. Otherwise, you'll be replacing battens all the time until you get that pocket fixed.
We need to replace the elastic in this batten pocket. The elastic is stretched all the way to the edge of the pocket, so when the batten goes in, there's no push to bring it back to the Leech edge. So we're going to open this up and replace the elastic and stitch this area back down.
You can see this Telltale's had better days. What I like to do, Jim looks like he tied this around. You can do Telltales out of just about anything. The most common is ripstop nylon, 3/4 ounce ripstop nylon. And then with the Telltales, the simplest thing, if you pay attention to where the Leechline is you want to install them near a batten pocket, either a little bit above, a little bit below. And then I like to just put those right onto the sail and stitch through them. And that holds them better than just insignia tabs. Certainly you can use insignia tabs if you don't have a machine or can't sew through that. But I do like to sew them because they do get abused quite a bit.
On a Genoa, a spreader can do a lot of damage to a sail. Up next, Jeff will inspect the spreader patch.
And here's one that's probably pretty common. A spreader took this out, and it took it out before. A cotter pin in the spreader. So it's been repaired several times over its lifetime. We are going to take this all off and patch the sail, and then we'll put the spreader patch over the top of that. We have about 4 or 5 layers of material here for one area that was patched. Now again, you don't have to remove it all. This is something where this could be fixed with just a patch on this side. But again, that's about our 5th or 6th layer. It's going to get like a clue patch up in the sail. It will make it whole. You can sail with it just fine. I mean, you're adding weight that you don't really need to add. This other part is, it's much more work to get into doing this, but it's one of those areas where I would say if it bothers you, then fix it the way you would like to see it fixed. We're going to take the whole thing off.
Leechline is tensioned and fastened down with Velcro sometimes, or cleats. We'll cover both.
Right, this is the other thing that's common for, this doesn't even have to be that old of a sail. This one happens to be, but a Velcro closure for leech line adjustment, or a Velcro leech line adjustment like this. Velcro doesn't last forever. We're going to replace this Velcro and put some new Velcro in its place, and we'll just remove the old, put new one in. This piece is fine, there's no reason to replace it. One of the things to look at too is your leech line cleats. Often over the years you can get to the point where if it's used quite a bit, especially a nylon cleat like this, it'll either get worn out, just the teeth burned out so it doesn't work anymore. Possibly you get rivets that are partially coming out. As you can see, this one got caught or stepped on it something, or a hammer may have hit it. But we're going to replace this.
Rings that are secured with webbing at the corners of your sail should also be checked. Here, Jeff will cover that.
Yeah, and the clue corner, which is oftentimes can be the corner that gets the most abuse from tacking and hitting the shrouds, etc. You always want to inspect that, check for any frays in the webbing, especially right around here where it attaches, and any stitches that are broken. And this looks fine, a little bit dirty, but that's understandable for the age of the sail. But this can be inspected. If you have just one piece of webbing that's damaged, you can replace that piece of webbing. But generally speaking, if I see that, unless I can know it's coming from a certain point on the boat that I have corrected, I'm going to replace all the webbing at once. And we'll be showing that later on with one of Jim's other sails, where we replace the D-ring with the webbing and show how all that's done. This is the clue ring of Jim's main. There's nothing, you can see there's nothing really wrong with this at all. The webbing's dirty, the webbing's old, but it's still there. The bro rope here shows a little chafe, but again, that's something we will probably take that and re-stitch the rope into the foot, because you can see where the stitching, this is to hold that boat rope that was put in there a little bit short to hold that rope in place. The stitching's fraying here. This sail does not reach its actually proper tack pin. And since we're working on this for Jim, we said, oh yeah, well, we can go ahead and take care of that for you. And we're just gonna, he just wanted dog ears because then it will match the rest of his stuff added to the bottom here. So we're gonna put some dog ears, which will extend his reach, and that will give him enough space so he can hook his tack in properly. We're gonna show it to you, stitching this in place using the Speedy Stitcher, which is a real handy tool. This can be used for your sail repair or canvas repair, especially on bigger sails where it's really difficult to get into the middle of the sail with the machine, or you don't want to take the whole sail off the boat to fix in some spots, and you can use a Speedy Stitcher to do that. It's really kind of a really nice tool to have. And you can also sew seams with it if you're offshore and something tears up and you don't have access to a sewing machine.
This next sail has a lot of leech flutter, and it has foot problems. Jeff will cover that next.
What's going on? We heard from Jim, but we want to also see what's going on. And the way to do that, and on the big sail, it takes some space, but the way to do that is to hold it up, pull it tight in 3 corners, and see what you see. I mean, it's not a perfect simulation to a boat, but it's close enough to give us the idea of where the leech is worse as far as where we want to focus our darting of the leech to tighten it up. Yeah, we talked to Jim about this again after he explained what he saw as the issue, which I agree with. If you see, the leech does not have any hollow, so when they cut the sacrificial cover down and cut the leech down and cut that all off, they basically did not put a hollow in the sail, which of course means the leech is going to fall off. Also, if you notice, there's a slight dip towards the end of the sail towards the leech where it comes up and then falls off. We'll tighten that up with some darts. But we want to take the cover off. Looks like we're going to add some hollow to it, and I'll go over that when the time comes. But your basic rule of thumb, especially an older furling sail, is take whatever the feet length of the leech is. So take your leech length in feet multiplied by, I go with 2% on an older sail, gives you how many inches to take out. So we can go ahead and we'll do that once the cover's off.
Jeff will now inspect the sail numbers and the logos and explain what to do if there are problems.
As do inspect your sail numbers, just check to make sure they're down. You do not want to start lifting them up, because if they aren't up and you lift them and you start breaking that bond there, they won't really adhere well and go back down. And Sailrite offers insignia material for something like this, which isn't a standard stylized number, and it's not in black, but we offer insignia material where you can make your own. So if they are coming up, but then you would basically get a corner, start peeling them up, and then use this as a template to make your new number, stick a new one down, and that's it.
Headboards are seldom a problem, but we still want to cover them to make sure that we're thorough.
Again, a headboard, this shouldn't be really any trouble just about ever. You can check to make sure the rivets are okay. If you do see one rivet that's bad, it would be similar to the Leechline cleat. Although these will be a little bit more difficult to remove, you still cut this with a drill to cut that top off. You do not drill all the way through. You just cut the top off, and then you take a small screwdriver, a scratch awl is what we would use, and you need to pop that rivet through. But eventually the headboards can wear. You can see this, and this is probably a 20-year-old sail or better, and you can see a little bit of wear that's there. They can wear to the point where you might be out, very close to breaking it, and in that case, then you would just remove the whole headboard and replace it. And that's not that big of a deal. Most of the headboards have been built over the years very similar, so the rivet holes will even match. If not, worst case scenario is to just slide it down here just to make sure that the rivets are going to be secure. That's it. And now that we went through and identified the areas in the sail to repair, I'm going to turn this over to Cindy, and she'll be working with the Sailrite Ultra Feed and working on that. And we also will help our customers understand, because this is a big sail and they're looking at that machine, and how do you get to where you need to be to fix everything. And you'll really see that when it comes to the windows. It's always, material handling is always something that you need to know, and you can do a lot with the machine if you understand how to get the material around it.
Throughout this video, you saw many video previews on the bottom left corner of your screen. Those previews are video hyperlinks that are clickable on computers but not on mobile devices. Links will also be provided in the written description, or tap on the top right corner of this video and click on the icon to view the entire playlist, so you can view the full detailed steps required to fix each issue. For more free videos like this, be sure to check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today.